Okay, so let's talk about non-spoilers. They killed the girlfriend. I forget her name. Copycat. Yeah, she's in the movie for like the first maybe first 15 minutes, and then she's gone. And I was really mad at that. I was like, oh, are we doing this? Like, really? Because I heard she I can't remember her name. I heard she wasn't in the film that much, and I was like, well, do they just sideline her? No, they do, but they get her out of the film, and I was really hurt by that. Because in the comics, she plays a character called Copycat, who's basically Mystique, but better, because she can not only copy people, but she can like copy their powers, and I was hoping they might do something with that, but they don't, so that kind of sucked. But it plays out, it works out in the long run, but I was definitely disappointed to see that they did that character like that. Like I said, the action, once again, the opening credit, when they finally get to the main opening credit, that's when they have the Celine Dion song, and it's basically like a James Bond, so like Skyfall parody. It's very much like Adele doing the Skyfall song, but it's like Deadpool and fucking butter knives, which was a whole joke. Yeah, so that was the whole thing. He was going around being the mercenary good guy. He's only killing the baddest of the bad people that no one wants to touch, and he's like in Hong Kong killing some Hong Kong what are they, like sex traffickers. Then he's like at the mobster funeral, and he pops out of the casket and sprays everyone at the funeral. He's at the Yakuza like bathhouse, and he's fighting dudes in the bathhouse. And then he's at the some sort of strip show, and he's like on stage, like you see a stripper, and then it turns around and it's fucking Deadpool in a wig. Like he's in the costume with a jacket on, but he's wearing a wig, and that's when he's got the heels on, and he just starts spraying people. And then he's at this I guess like a warehouse or whatever, and he's fighting these guys, and this one guy gets away, and he goes into a panic room, and Deadpool's kind of like, well, when you come out of the panic room, I can't get through this. And then he brings more goons, and that's when he has to leave. And he does the whole running into the cab scene, which you might have seen in the trailer. That was one of the scenes that was in the trailer that still killed me. That was still hilarious. I still died at that. And so he goes back home, and he meets the girlfriend, and they're trying to have a nice life. But then those guys from earlier come back and break into the house. And he only has he didn't have any gun, which I thought was a bit odd. He didn't have a spare gun sitting around, but he had some knives. He got some kitchenware, and he was throwing the knives at him. And then the last guy, he tries to take out where he throws the knife, but he misses, and the guy is busy dodging the knife, and he ends up shooting the girlfriend by accident. And then that leads to Deadpool being like, oh shit, she's dead, and he gets into a deep depression. And he wants to try now, and so after that, he's depressed. He doesn't want to live anymore, so he goes out of his way to try to kill himself, which he can't die thanks to his superpowers. So, and then he has this whole mind trip thing where he can go to another dimension, another realm within his mind, and he can see. I guess it's like purgatory, or maybe heaven or whatever. And he can talk to the girlfriend, and she gives him the mantra like, "Hey, your heart, you have to do right, but you can't be here because your heart's not in it. You have to do the right thing." And at this point he's like, what the hell does that mean? So Colossus comes in and trying to be a good friend, which is weird because they're not friends in the comics, but I like this relationship of Deadpool and Colossus, where he's like, man, I want you to be a good guy, I want you to join the team. So he picks him up, takes him to the mansion. He's like, you're gonna be an X-Men. He's not an X-Men yet, he's a trainee, he's in training. They make that very clear. That's a run-on gag that he's not an X-Men, he's a trainee. And so he's depressed at the mansion, and he's acting a damn fool. He's like in Professor X's chair riding around, which is hilarious. And he, of course, is like, how come I'm at the X Mansion, and there's no one here but you and Negasonic and her girlfriend, is the Japanese girl, who might be from the comics, I'm not sure. And she's a Japanese girl, and all she says is, she has one line, or at least maybe two, but her main line is highway, because he says her name. He's like, well, who is this? And she's like, this is my girlfriend. And he's like, oh, hi, Uchi-chan. And she's like, hi, Wade. And then that's all they do. Every time he sees her, he's like, hi, Uchi-chan. And she's like, hi, Wade. And so he's riding around in the X Mansion. He's like, how come I'm at the X Mansion and there's no one here but you guys? Like, I would expect the studio. They gave us more money, but they still couldn't give us a new X-Men character. Like, we can't get fucking what's his name? Pigeon Boy. He was talking about Angel. He's like, we can't get the Pigeon guy. Like, what the hell's going on? And as he's riding around, there's a shot behind him. There's like a side room, and it's basically everyone from. It's kind of weird. It's everyone from the. I guess Apocalypse. It's everyone from Apocalypse is just standing in the room because it's Nicholas Hoult as Beast. You can see Quicksilver. I think it was a McAvoy in Professor X's chair. You don't really see his face. It's because his back's toward the camera. And I think New Scott and New Jean were behind the door, and like Beast kind of like hurry up and like shuts the door as Deadpool's like, why the fuck could I find any of the X-Men? So he's there hanging out. Then there's an incident, which is with the kid. Russell, he has fire powers, and he's causing an incident he's at like this sort of orphanage slash mutant hospital, which was odd. It's like, because it's like, so not only does the Xavier Mansion exist, but there's also government funded places that are just like the X Mansion, but more like, foster home or like orphanages that have medical, abilities, government funding to contain and also help mutants. And so he's having a fit, and Deadpool and Colossus and Negasonic go there to kind of calm him down, and Deadpool's being a dick as he is, and he sees the people. He's like, let me take care of this, and he's trying to talk the kid down, and he beats the shit out of the kid. He knocks Negasonic back, and then he knocks the mess out of Colossus. And then the police are there. Well, they're not the police. They're like the government people who have, gadgets and devices that can contain mutants. They're about to, they're about to kill this kid. And Deadpool's like, whoa, let's not go this far. And he talks to the kid, and the kid's freaking out because there's something going on at the orphanage. And it's like the guy that runs the orphanage Deadpool realizes he's got these marks on his neck, and he's like, oh, are these people abusing you? And the kid's kind of like, he doesn't, at first, I don't think he says yes, but Deadpool's like, hey, look, I grew up in an orphanage, and if these people are fucking with you, I'll take care of it. But instead of Deadpool saying, arrest these men, he's attacking, they're harming these kids, or there should be an investigation, he just pulls out his gun and then starts shooting the guys that work there. And then Colossus is losing his mind. He's like, what are you doing? Like, you don't shoot people. Oh yeah, that was the rule. He gave him rules. Rule number 1, don't kill anyone. Rule number 2, don't be a douche, or some shit like that. He had a like, Big Colossus got this tiny ass rule book on the rules of X-Men. Rule number 1 is like on page 35 though, because he wasn't on the first page when he was reading it. But anyway, so Colossus is pissed that Deadpool's now killed these people in broad daylight. He's just murdered these people. So now he's arrested, and the kid is arrested, and Colossus is like, I'm done with you. I've tried to help you. I can't deal with this anymore. So him and the kid are now sent to this prison that's in the mountains. I think it's still in New York, but it's somewhere up in the mountains because there's snow, and it's filled with all these different mutants who have these collars on them. And I believe one of them might have been Sabretooth. There was a big white dude with long blonde hair that had like a rough face, and I was like, is he supposed to be like the new Sabretooth? Because he looked like the most Sabretooth since the first one, but he didn't have any lines. And so like Deadpool and the kid are hanging out. Well, the kid is hanging out with Deadpool, and this kid was so like, he wants to be a gangster so bad, and he's like, yeah, I know about prison. You got to find the toughest guy and beat the shit out of him, and then you can like run the prison. But then there's like this secret vault where the toughest guy is held, and Deadpool's like, well, we probably can't fight the toughest guy, but let's get the second toughest guy. But Deadpool's not really fucking with the kid. He's just being a douche. Because Deadpool has the collar on him that is stopping his powers. So his power is a healing factor to fight the cancer. Without his healing factor, he's now just dying of cancer. And that was, I like seeing that, because like his energy, he's quippy, but he's not as quick to fight someone, because he's now just literally a guy who's dying from cancer. He doesn't have chemo, he has no pills, he's literally a burn. He can feel the burns, like he has no lotion or anything. He can feel the burns, he can feel the cancer, as he says, the cancer. He's like, I'm just gonna slowly die from sores and something else. I can't remember. It was some funny shit, but There's a guy in the prison who is an asshole called Black Tom Cassidy, who in the comics is Banshee's not his twin brother, but his brother. Banshee is the guy from First Class that had the sonic scream. Black Tom Cassidy is his brother, but I don't think he's his brother in this movie because Banshee died in the 70s, and this guy is like 35 in 2008, so I don't think he's his brother. But his name is Black Tom Cassidy, and Deadpool, when he sees him, because he's a white dude, he's got tats, and he's kind of got dreads. So Deadpool is like, so what's your superpower? Cultural appropriation. And so throughout the whole moment, throughout most of the movie, I haven't even gotten to Cable, but there's a bit where Cable's from the future, something happens, he comes to the past, he's there to kill the kid. Now, there's a moment when Cable pops into the prison, and he oh no, that was later. That was like, I'll get to that later. That was actually later. But yeah, he pops into the prison and he's tracking down. Well, they make you believe he's tracking down Deadpool, but it turns out he's tracking down the kid. And the reason for that is, which they, like I said, this movie is not that deep. It's kind of obvious if you are used to sci-fi films. You're used to, the whole Terminator thing. He's from the future. Someone in the past killed his family. Well, no, someone in the future killed his family, so he goes into the past. Well, and he's there to kill one person, so you can realize that the person that he's trying to kill is the person who killed in the past is the person that killed his family in the future. So he's there to stop the kid from becoming a murderer by murdering him in the past, which Deadpool, once he finds that out, calls him on this shit. And he's like, well, if you can time travel, why don't you time travel to when he was a baby and kill him? Hell, for that matter, why don't you time travel and kill Hitler when he was a baby? And then Cable mentions, which is a plot point, he can only time travel as long as he has enough energy, and he only has in his device, he can time slide, as it's called in the comics, and he can only do this twice because he only has enough energy to do it twice, and he only did it once to get to the past. So he's going to get to the past, kill the kid, do it again to go back to the future to live with his family. Now, Josh Brolin as Cable was a beast. Like, I was one of the people that was like, he's a little too small, but he get in shape, but he is a bad ass. The effects on him, like when they show it, there's some scenes where he's shirtless and you can see the techno virus. I like how he doesn't look like he's a man and part machine. It looks like the mechanical stuff is growing into him, growing out of him, as opposed to it's just slapped on a different section. So that looked really good. His powers, I don't think he actually uses mutant abilities, which is not comic inaccurate because he rarely uses them in the comic. I think he's like telekinetic, I'm not sure, but he does uses his guns. He uses his robot arm. He uses his I thought they were his telekinetic shields, but they seem to be just regular force fields from his devices. And he has his strap, which is like a utility pack, and they keep shitting on him because he's like, you're this badass, but you're walking around with a fanny pack. Like he's like, don't lie to me, that's a fucking fanny pack. Like, I know you want to be like a badass, but you're walking around with a fanny pack. Like that, him and Deadpool and TJ Miller, Weasel, were killing him with that. And so Josh Brolin is sweet, and he's an unstoppable force. He's trying to kill the kid. They eventually get out of prison. Like Deadpool and Cable get out of the prison because the kid is still captured by the way the fight ended, where they both fall off the mountain, and Deadpool, it's like, as he says, he's at his rock bottom. He literally he hits a rock, like his head crashes full onto a rock, caves his head in, he falls off a cliff. He's at rock bottom. And then he sees the wife again, and she gives him the mantra, which gets him the spirit to continue to fight. But he says something during the fight that pisses the kid off. So then the kid is like, well, Deadpool's not going to be my friend. I'm going to get someone else to be my friend, who is the biggest guy in the prison. He makes a friendship with that guy. So now that the prison has been destroyed, they have to carry them to a new prison. So in that time, which is like, I don't know, it's probably maybe like, it could be 2 days, it could be 11 hours, but in that time, Deadpool forms a team called X-Force, where he, holds auditions. So he gets, and you introduced to the other characters. You introduced to Domino, which they have their little tidbit about whether her powers are real or not. That was fun. Shatterstar comes in, played by Louis Tan, and he's like, "Well, I'm like you, but I'm like better than everything. I'm like you, but better." And Deadpool's like, "Oh, this guy's kind of a douche, but let's put him on the team." And they do mention that he's from the Mojoverse because he's not technically a mutant. He's like from another dimension. And they do mention that because there's a moment where Deadpool's like, wait, so wait, you're an alien? Oh, that's kind of like, he's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, this is like, yeah, he's an alien. Why not? He's an alien. Terry Crews is Bedlam. He does fine. Skarsgård is Zeitgeist, who has the acid spit. Then there's the Vanisher, which I believe the Vanisher, which, okay, he's called the Vanisher. You can't, like, you don't see him at all. And then, like, TJ Miller's like, oh, yeah, he's a Vanisher. And then, like, Deadpool's like, okay. And then he's waiting to see the person. And then Deadpool's like, oh, Vanisher, because that's his power. That's cool. Yeah. And he's still waiting for him to pop up. And then Deadpool's like, he's not showing, is he? And TJ Miller's like, I think he's running late. So we get Shatterstar, Zeitgeist, Domino, Bedlam. We get the Vanisher. Yeah. So the Vanisher is, I believe he's an X-Men villain. He's like an OG X-Men villain. Like, he's probably like the second guy the X-Men fought in the 60s. And he can teleport. I believe that's that same character. And so he's in the movie. He's part of X-Force. You don't see him because he's literally invisible. And that's a run-on gag throughout the movie. And then the guy Peter shows up and he's like, yeah, I just saw the LinkedIn and I think this would be cool. And the funny bit is the taxi cab driver, who's just a regular person who hangs with Deadpool throughout the whole movie. He's like, you know what? I know the last time I killed my cousin, but I actually liked it. And I would like to be a contract killer just like you. And they're like, dude, you're not made for this. So his run-on joke throughout the movie is, he's like, man, I really want to be a killer like you. And they're like, you should just work at the bar. Like, you do side work. So when they just let this random guy Peter on the team, he happens to be in the room, and when he hears they let him on the team, he's like, what the fuck? So out of nowhere, they get a helicopter. Somehow they have money for a helicopter. They know a guy that can fly. They can know a guy that flies a helicopter. So they got the helicopter. Everyone's in the helicopter. They got the cool costumes. They're like, Deadpool's like, all right, we're gonna drop. He tell them the plan as the convoy is sending the people to the new prison. Cable off screen kidnaps Weasel and he interrogates him. Well, he's about to interrogate him. He's like, you know what? I got a list of things that's gonna happen. And the first thing that's gonna happen is I'm gonna break something that shouldn't be broken. Now the second thing that's gonna happen, and Weasel's like, look, you don't have to worry about that. I'm not gonna get I'm not even gonna get past one. He's like, whatever you need to know, like, you don't have to break anything. I'll just tell you what you need to know. And he basically, he's called Weasel. He snitches on him, which I guess in other movies would be a bad thing, but like with this one, it doesn't really matter that he tells them because he's gonna find out anyway. So they're in the helicopter and they're, Deadpool's hyping them up and he's like, yeah, we're gonna be called X-Force. It's a scene in the trailer, we're gonna be X-Force. We're gonna be gender neutral. We're not X-Men, we're X-Force. Isn't that kind of derivative? Yes, it is. And they do their little back and forth. But there's this key thing that they mention. Well, that Peter mentions, he's like, he mentions, like, should we be flying right now? Because I saw the wind advisory for this area was very extreme, and the Deadpool, like, yells at him, and he's like, don't you yell, don't you question me, I'm the leader, and da-da-da. And then he whispers to him, he's like, I'm just yelling at you so I can sound cool in front of everybody else, but I wouldn't hurt you, Sugar Bear. And so he gets back and they're like, all right, let's go. And as you can see, you see the whole team, and then there's a invisible person wearing a parachute. So there's literally just a parachute sitting there because the Vanisher actually exists. So they do the cool thing where they open the door and everyone jumps out of the plane. Well, except for Peter, who, like, he gets to the edge and he, like, sits down and he, like, pushes himself off, and then Deadpool's the last one to jump out. So everyone's falling out of the plane and it looks cool, and they're getting close to their destination, and then he's like, all right, everybody, unleash your parachutes. So they do it, and then the wind takes them off course because, like Peter had mentioned, that wind advisory was extreme. And so Deadpool's now kind of freaking out. He's like, oh, okay, we're a little off track, everybody, so let's try to figure this out. So Deadpool, he lands on a billboard. He lands on a billboard. He's like, okay, we could salvage this. So Terry Crews is coming down, and he's like, okay, yeah, you can do it, Bedlam. And he's about to land, and he gets hit by a bus. He goes face first into the front of a fucking city bus. Yeah, it's not like deadpan. He's fucking dead. Bedlam is dead, and Deadpool's like, whoa. So Shatterstar is falling down. He's falling down. He's coming down on a building where there's a fucking helicopter on a helipad, and he falls right into the blades and gets sliced. Like it's like green blood everywhere because he is an alien. Green blood everywhere. He's fucking dead. Peter lands. Peter lands. He makes it. Peter is he lands and Deadpool can see him from the billboard. He's like, yeah, Peter, you did it. But Zeitgeist comes in behind Peter, probably like 15 feet behind Peter, and lands in a fucking wood chipper. His legs are caught in a wood chipper, so Peter runs over there to help him. And Zeitgeist's power is he has acid spit, so Peter is like, oh, we're gonna get out of this, we're gonna get out of it. And Zeitgeist is like, yeah, we're gonna get out of this. But as the blades get closer to his gut, he starts spitting up. So now he spits acid spit on Peter, and Peter's whole fucking left arm and body is now melted away. And Vanisher, he's like, okay, well, maybe Vanisher is alive. Vanisher comes down and he hits a he's like, maybe if you he's about to hit some electrical wire, and Deadpool's like, well, maybe if the wires can't see you, it won't work. He falls into the wires and he gets electrocuted, and you actually see Vanisher. And if I'm not mistaken, it was fucking Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt pops up in a cameo as Vanisher and then dies, which was great. And it's kind of like in well, this is a spoiler section, but if you haven't seen Thor Ragnarok, they do a joke with Matt Damon where he's playing Loki. So it was kind of fun that there's, Matt Damon is in Ragnarok, and then we got Deadpool in this one. That scene was hilarious. And so the last one that's still alive is Domino, and her power is luck. So she manages to glide her way all the way to the convoy truck and like drop in, because there was like for some reason, there was like a sunroof on the fucking thing, and she drops in the passenger seat, and she's there. And Deadpool's like, wait, how the fuck did that happen? And she's like, oh, look, I told you I'm lucky. So Deadpool's now on he gets on a moped, and he's like trying to run in and get there on the moped, because then Cable comes in. I forget how he gets there, but he knew the pathway. I think he was in I think he took over one of the Hummers, but he catches up, and then there's this big chase scene where he gets into the truck. Deadpool eventually catches up. They're fighting within the convoy, and it's like different sections, and like Deadpool I think Cable probably his bomb goes off because he fights Domino, and then it goes off and it blows up one of the sections, and so and like certain people are still contained, and there's one moment where Deadpool is about to get shot by Cable, but he moves out of the way, and the bullet hits Black Tom Cassidy in the head, and Deadpool is like, you killed Black Tom. He's like, you killed Black Tom Cassidy, you racist son of a bitch. And so he's like, what? So they're still fighting, and the kid gets free, and then he eventually unleashes the big guy that was in his container, and then once they're unleashed, so the brake lines get cut, so Domino can't stop the car, but she's lucky, and she's like, well, fuck, I'm just gonna let it go. I'll stop it the best way I can, and she just drives it into a building, and it goes through this building and eventually falls off the upper bridge down on the ground and crashes into other traffic. And everyone, the people who survive. Domino, she jumps out and lands in a big old inflatable panda, so she's good. Deadpool, he gets all messed up, but he has his healing factor. And then the kid survived because he was saved by the big monster that's with him. And it's fucking Juggernaut. And I don't mean it's the Juggernaut, bitch. It's full on Juggernaut, bitch. Like, I'm not talking about Vinnie Jones, X-Men 3, stone helmet, fucking BDSM outfit. No, I mean full Juggernaut. Like the tech that they use to make Colossus big, they use on Juggernaut to make him big. He's got the helmet. It's like locked in. You can kind of see his face. Like it's like the one from the comic where you can kind of see his face through the holes. He's got the brass knuckles. He's got the big exaggerated body, and he sounds like the Juggernaut. Like, and I don't mean like Vinnie Jones British, and not even like I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. Like, no, he sounds like the Juggernaut from like the '90s cartoon. Like, and he talks like him too. And so the kid is now teamed up with the Juggernaut, and then Deadpool's geeking out over the Juggernaut, and he's like naming all these different comics that the Juggernaut was in, and then he said something like, you would probably do something cool, some cool Juggernaut shit, like rip me in half, and then like he literally picks up Deadpool and rips him in half, and just drops him down, and then him and the kid are leaving because they're gonna do, so there's something the kid wants to do. We don't know what it is at that point. So Deadpool's been ripped in half, Cable survives. So Domino, he tells Domino to use his arms as a backpack, and so she like grabs his legs and got his arms hooked around him, and uses him as a backpack to take him back to the apartment with Blind Alice. Which, like I said, the way they use Deadpool's power, there's a moment when him and Cable are fighting in the prison, and he breaks his arm, and instead of like using a metal bar to choke Cable, he's got his broken arm wrapped around to choke Cable. It was cool stuff like that where they used his powers. So later on, so after they leave the car accident, Deadpool is at Blind Alice's apartment, and she's there to she gives him more wise advice as she does earlier in the film. And he's sitting there, and he tells Blind Alice to touch something, which you can't see below his waist. And so she touches it, and she's like, what the hell is that? He's like, so why is your hand little? He's like, oh, that's not my hand. And so as he's talking, I believe it was TJ, no, I think Domino came in first, and she's like, I don't know what we're gonna do. Weasel comes in, and he's like, hey, I'm sorry, Cable got the information from me, but we can still solve this thing. Then Stupender comes in, and he's complaining like, I should be on the team. And then Deadpool's kind of like, well, like, who the fuck gave everybody the address, or who said I wanted to see you guys right now? And then Cable walks in, and they're like, oh shit, Cable's here. And Cable kind of comes in, and he's like, look, I need you guys' help. Yeah, I'm here to kill the kid, but I can't fight the Juggernaut. I'm not powerful enough to fight the Juggernaut. I need you guys' help. And they're kind of like, well, why the hell will we help you to kill the kid? And then that's when he explains, in the future, the kid becomes, once he kills now at this time, he will become a killer in the future. And I'm here to stop him from killing someone now, so he won't be a killer in the future, and he'll end up killing my family, and I want to kill him. And Deadpool's, okay, so him and the girlfriend were going to start a family. She gets killed. So he's kind of like, well, he's looking for the journey of him trying to find a family. And so he's like, you know what, maybe I could try to save this kid. And so they come to agreement that they'll team up to stop the kid, because he knows where the kid's going. He's going back to the orphanage to kill the guy that runs the orphanage. Now, the guy that runs the orphanage is basically William Stryker, and not William Stryker from the X-Men 2 movie, but William Stryker from the comic, where he's this guy who hates mutants, but he's also like a religious fanatic, and religious fanatic. And so he views the mutants as a sin, and he's been experimenting on them. He has some sort of device that probably can take their powers. They never really say, but he has some weird device in the auditorium that he uses on the kids that tortures them and supposedly takes their takes their powers. But it kind of gets a little dark, because Deadpool makes a lot of jokes. Like, not only is he possibly abusing these kids, but he might be molesting them. They never say he does, but Deadpool makes a lot of like, oh, this guy's a pedophile jokes. He does it with everybody that works at the orphanage, which is this great moment when they get to a fight. But so they team up, they go down to the orphanage. The kid's hanging with Juggernaut, and I like that Juggernaut is not a douche to the kid. Like, he's a douche, but he's actually cool with the kid. He's like, they're kind of talking back and forth about some cool shit, and there's a moment where Juggernaut's like, yeah, he's like, yeah, I wear the helmet. Oh, wait, no, the kid's like, so you wear the helmet so your brother can't read your mind? He's like, yeah, but he's also in a wheelchair, so it kind of balanced out. So that was a nice little touch. If you don't know, Professor X is Juggernaut's stepbrother. At least in this movie, where they get shit, closer to the comics, he is, as opposed to X-Men 3, where he's just some random asshole. Although Juggernaut isn't a mutant, but in these movies he is. He is. That's fine. Whatever. So they roll up to the orphanage. It's just, they stop at the X Mansion because he wanted to get some help. But, Colossus is still mad at him. It's the little, I can't remember that 80s movie with John Cusack where he has the boombox. He's playing that song, although he's got, like, an app on his phone. He's trying to get Colossus to help him out, but Colossus is like, I'm not going to help you out. So they go there in the cab. And they do another funny joke about Cable being a racist, which Cable is like, I'm not a fucking racist, you dumbass. And Domino kind of backs him up on that. She's like, no, he's not. But so they get there and they stop. The kid is basically what has happened is the kid is it's kind of weird because the guy has no powers, but the kid, he's a kid and he sucks with his mutant abilities. So he's throwing fireballs at the guy, but he's never really hitting him. So the guy is able to get away. While they're doing that, Deadpool, Cable, and Domino are fighting Juggernaut, and he is beating their ass. Like, except for like when they use Cable's cool weapons, like he's got this concussive gun that's able to knock Juggernaut off his feet, but it doesn't hold him for long. And then eventually, the X-Men, the 3 X-Men that we get for this movie, Colossus, Negasonic, and the Japanese girl, they come in and they help out, and Colossus has this great moment where it's just him and Juggernaut fighting, like slugging it out, and like, Juggernaut is beating his ass very much in the beginning, but then Colossus stops being a goody two-shoe and starts to fight dirty, and he starts fighting back on old Juggernaut. So Cable and Deadpool are busy fighting the workers at the orphanage, and Domino goes in to try to stop the kid. So she's in there fighting them, and that was a good scene where she's using her luck abilities to save. Well, like the orphans are in the they're like in like a bed, in the room with the beds and shit, and so she's going around fighting the different guys, and of course, like one guy slips up and like falls and like stabs him in his face. One guy slips and breaks his neck on the rail of the bed. There's another guy, which was really fucked up. It was like all these different like dividers. They all fall on him, and he like kind of he gets knocked out. But then there's this big bookcase that gets knocked over, and he like basically just cuts his fucking head off. And so there's this moment where Domino's like, well, I got all these orphans, but I really need a bus to carry you. And outside in the fight, Colossus picks up, I think it was Juggernaut. Or was it Colossus? No, I think it was Colossus picks up a bus and tries to hit Juggernaut with it, but he knocks it away. And so the bus falls into the building, so she didn't piss the kids. She doesn't take them in the bus, but she uses the bus as like a tunnel for them to get to the ground, because they were like probably like on the second story or whatever. So the kid is still throwing fireballs, trying to kill this one guy, this one random old dude. He can't kill him. And so they get to this point where they're back out on the field, and what happened? So yeah, he's gloating like, hey, I'm about to kill this guy, and Deadpool and Cable made an agreement, like, you have 30 seconds to try to convince this kid. After that, I'm gonna fucking kill him. And Deadpool, he failed the first time, but he's like, come on, give me another chance. And he tries to talk the kid down. Now before that, Colossus, the Asian girl uses her electric chain or whatever, and she ties up Juggernaut's legs. Colossus jumps over him and rips his pants where his ass is exposed. He takes a electrical, like a live wire, shoves the wire up Juggernaut's ass. So now Juggernaut is butt-ass naked with a electrical wire shoved up his ass. Then Negasonic uses her powers to push him, and he falls into the pool. So now he's being electrocuted up his ass in the pool. So that's how they get rid of, that's the end of Juggernaut. That's how they get rid of Juggernaut for the rest of the movie. So now everyone's in the I guess the playground area or the side of the building, and Deadpool's trying to talk the kid down, and he's still throwing fireballs at him, and he hits him dead on with a fireball, and his costume goes from black and red to gray and red, which is sort of a nod to the X-Force costume from I guess the third volume of the comic, when they rebooted the comic and they had the black and gray uniforms, and Deadpool had that black and gray uniform, so that was a nod to that. and he tries to talk the kid down. Kid's not gonna listen. And so Deadpool pets on the electrical collar because he's like, look, I'm not gonna hurt you, but like, trust me, like I'm petting your life in my life in your hands. So he pets the collar on, his powers aren't activated, and he kind of like charges he's gonna stop the kid. The kid's about to hit the guy with a fireball, so Deadpool's running to try to stop him. Cable's also running to shoot him because he's going to grab a gun and shoot him, but Deadpool mid-run sees this, so Deadpool jumps in front of the bullet, and like by the bullet hitting Deadpool, it goes off trajectory. So he takes the bullet, and then the kid sees, whoa, someone does care about me. Someone was willing to risk their life for me. I don't have to be a killer in order to stop this guy. We can, do it another way. And so Deadpool, he still has the collar on, so he sacrificed himself to save the kid, in which they realize Cable has this teddy bear that's covered in the blood and ash of his dead daughter, and the teddy bear now is no longer grimy, it turns clean. And so Deadpool's like, oh, see, your teddy bear, because he mentioned it earlier before the fight, because he's like, yeah, why the hell are you running around, this big tough guy, why are you running around with a teddy bear? And Cable's like, well, it's covered in the blood of my daughter, you fucking asshole, basically. And then Deadpool's kind of like, ooh, I wish I can go back in time and, not say something that fucked up. So Cable, sees Deadpool's dying. And that was a funny moment where Deadpool's dying. He's like, he's talking all this stuff. He's like, oh, the light's coming. I'm gonna fade away. And then he's like sitting there. And then he starts talking. He's like, okay, maybe not. I'm still here. I might not be there yet. And he's messing with everyone. And he gets Colossus to say the F word. He's like, just say fuck one time. Just say fuck one time. And Colossus is like, fuck. And he's like, oh, see, you cursed, you're going to hell. And so he's fucking with everybody. Then eventually he dies, and he goes to the other realm where he sees the girlfriend again, or the wife, and or fiance. I don't know if they got married. They probably got married. I think they got married. He sees her, and because every time he went to see her, there was this force field in front of him, and he couldn't get there. But now he's learned the lesson. He's able to be with her, and he's healed too. He's like he's Ryan Reynolds, and they have this emotional moment where they're like, yeah, you opened up your heart and you did the right thing, because kids can make you better than what you are. I think it was something like that. So they're hugging and they're loving, and she's like, yeah, you did good, but this isn't, she's like, this isn't your time. You're not. You're like, you did the right thing, but this isn't your time. You're not supposed to go yet. You're not supposed to be dead yet. But Deadpool's kind of like, oh, well, I would like to stay here with you, but, if you say this, I have to go back. So, and I figured it out beforehand. I went to see the movie with my brother, and I was like, oh, I know how they're going to bring Deadpool back. So what happens is Cable, he can only time travel twice. He's already used it once. So what he does is he uses his time slider one more time, and he goes back in time right before they have the big fight. And so when they have that conversation where Deadpool, right before Deadpool makes that joke about why do you have the teddy bear, he mentions, why do you have the teddy bear? And then Cable, instead of saying, it's covered in my daughter's blood, he's like, it's my daughter's teddy bear. Her name is Hope. Leave it at that. And he touches Deadpool on his chest and then leaves it and lets it go. So then the movie, like, itself fast forwards back to that moment, right back to that moment where Deadpool gets shot and he falls down, and then the kid, learns the lesson, like, I don't have to be a douche. Someone does care about me. And the time stream, is saved in Cable's perspective. So then Deadpool realizes he's not dead, because when Cable touched him, there was a token. There was a moment early in the movie where Deadpool and the girlfriend exchanged presents. Deadpool's present to the girlfriend was a token from their first date. If you remember in the first movie, when she was a prostitute and he took on the date, they played skee ball, where he had one of the tokens from the place, and he mentions it's made out of genuine lead. So it's strong enough to stop a bullet, and that's what stops the bullet. So he doesn't die, and now Cable is stuck in the present which Deadpool makes the joke like, oh, you did this because you care about me, and he's like, no, I didn't. It just has nothing to do about me caring about you. She's like, oh, come on, you totally care about. He's like, it does not have anything to do about me caring. She's like, you totally care about me, and he like threatens to shoot him. And so the day is saved, or at least the day is saved from their perspective. But the guy, they're about to leave, but the guy is still around. Like, it was so stupid. Like, the guy the bad guy that the kid was trying to kill is still there. He walks up and he's like, oh, all you mutants are evil, your sins, your abominations against humanity. And he's talking this shit, and then out of nowhere the fucking cab comes in and just runs his ass down. And so then the dude comes out, he's like, yeah, X-Force, motherfucker. And then Deadpool's laughing. He's like, I heard you, I could hear you like 30 seconds ago. I was just waiting for you to get here to run his ass over. So he's dead, and they walk away, and the music plays. And then that's basically the end of the movie. But I might be missing something else, but that's basically the end of the movie. But then we get the post-credit, or the mid-credit scene. And this was the scene that made this movie better than the first. This is one scene, because I'm a team guy. I love super teams like Avengers, Justice League, X-Men. If you can give me more team characters in something and do it good, I'm gonna tend to like it more than the solo adventures. So that's another reason why I like this movie more so than the first one, because it does have that team aspect. You see more characters, you see more comic book lore. I like that. And there's a moment where so the time device is out of energy. Somehow Negasonic Teenage Warhead is smart enough to fix it, because I think he stole it from Cable, and her and the girlfriend, who has like so like lightning electric abilities, fix the device, but he can only use it once, and he's like, that's all I need it for. So he uses the device and goes back in time to save the girlfriend. He goes back in time, and instead of throwing the knife and missing the guy, and the guy misses and dodges it and shoots the girlfriend, he gets hit straight in the fucking head. No, he can't use it once. No, he can just use the device. That's right. So he kills that guy, and he's like, yes, my girlfriend is, my fiance is alive. I got other things I got to fix. So then he goes back in time to X-Men Origins, and then fucking Deadpool and X-Men Origins. It's like the scene from X-Men Origins where Wolverine sees Deadpool, and he's got the melded mouth and the bullshit tattoos, and Wolverine's like, he's like, Wade, what did they do? What did Stryker do to you? And then out of nowhere, Deadpool from the movie walks out of nowhere and just fucking shoots him. Like, he just like shoots X-Men Origins Deadpool like 8 fucking times. He's like, don't worry about it, Logan. I'm here to save you. He's like, just pow, 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 pow. Just shoots the shit out of him. He's like, hey, it's gonna be all right. So then he leaves, and then the next scene is fucking Ryan Reynolds. It's Ryan Reynolds holding a script to fucking Green Lantern, and he's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be the movie this is gonna be my big breakout movie. And then out of nowhere, he gets shot through the fucking head by Deadpool. Deadpool shoots Ryan Reynolds in the head, and the bullet goes through the script of Green Lantern, and he's like, don't worry. He's like, hey, don't worry, I fixed it. You're welcome, Canada. And then he leaves. That was the most insane thing I've seen. One of the most insane things I've seen in a movie. It was brilliant. That whole sequence, that's the mid-credit scene. There's nothing else after that. That whole sequence was hilarious. Like, I was like, God damn, like, they really went above and beyond with that sequence alone. But like, man, I was worried about Tim Miller not being in this movie, but they stuck the landing. And in my terms, they stuck the landing. It was a very good film. Check it out. It's probably, I know there's other jokes, but that's like an overview of the film. Really good cameos. Like I said, I don't know if that counts as a Wolverine cameo, because that was literally just a scene from the movie. Although there was a joke when and earlier when Deadpool got knocked out by the kid and he fell into the orphanage, and there's this one kid eating cereal. He picks up the cereal box and signs his name. He's like, oh yeah, I'm an X-Men now. And he's like, you're a trainee. And he's like, fuck off, kid. So he signs his name, and then you see the cereal box and this fucking Wolverine on the cereal box. And I think he either signed Deadpool or he signed Ryan Reynolds. I can't remember, but that was funny. But then the opening scene, I forgot, the opening scene when they show, the first thing you see is it's an action figure of Wolverine with the fucking tree stump, this tree piece stabbed through his chest, and it says Logan on it, and then like Deadpool turns it on and like spins around. That was so fucking funny. This movie is really hilarious. And like I said, they do a big subversion. You think you're getting X-Force. Well, guess what? They're fucking dead. Well, actually no, because that's right. That was the other thing. He goes back in time. That was the one before he shoots Ryan Reynolds in the head. He goes back in time to the to when the X-Force jumped out of the plane. Now it seems, I don't know if he saved everyone, but he definitely saves Peter, because he sees Peter, and because Peter was the only one that actually landed, and he's like, Peter, just leave. And he's like, what? He's like, don't look, don't worry about anything, just leave. And he's like, but what about X? He's like, dude, don't worry about it, just leave. And he's like, okay, I guess I'll leave, but make sure to give Domino my email. So I guess everyone else died, but he loved Peter so much, he saved Peter. That, I don't know what they're gonna do for X-Force movie. You got Deadpool, you got Cable, you got Domino. I guess Colossus is gonna be on the team. Maybe he's on the team in the comic. I don't know if he might as well be, because he didn't leave with the X-Men at the end of the fight. He left with Deadpool because the girls took the orphans to the X-Mansion. So I don't know, but all in all, all in all, I say that a lot. This movie was awesome. Go see it. Check it out. I got nothing else. That's pretty much everything else. But if you liked the movie, if you hated the movie, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video. And stay tuned for more videos. Next one, or at least the next movie review coming up, should be solo. It should be solo, unless I truly don't give any more fucks about that film. But it should be solo, so stick around for that. And always, there's other videos on the channel to watch, so, you know, do that as well. Thanks for watching.
Finish this thought. I am a slave to
the booty.